Hello, Lincoln. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Do I look like that guy from Sprint and Verizon? Well, anyway, my name's Mike. I'm not that guy. I don't make nearly as much money as that guy. But here we are. Happy Friday. I cannot believe it, but I think this week was the fastest week of my life. This week was over in 3 seconds. Would you agree? That was insane. I can't believe it's Friday. So anyhow, we have some super fun guests today. I'm so excited. And I'll invite them into the session here in just a second. But I have to say, for those of you that are creative and really wrapping your claws into this pandemic and making the best of it, for home recording, for working at home, for just being creative in general with technology as your catalyst, today's show is for you. This is going to be super fun. We have Eric Medley and Chris Steffen, both highly respectable sound engineers, joining the program. And I'm going to pull my chat up so I can see some chats, and I see some people tuning in. Let me know that you're there so we know that it's working. If you guys could comment and just kind of say hello, that would be awesome. And just let us know that you're tuning in. So we're doing this right. Every Friday there's one surprise element. Everybody and their dog is online these days, so you never know what's going to happen. So it looks like we're good. You might hear me for just a second yet. So I'm going to say hello. That would be awesome. Yeah. Okay. So I can watch some comments there. Awesome. All right. Well, I'm going to bring in our guests. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Eric Medley and Mr. Chris Steffen are joining the program. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here today in this virtual studio. Now, I gave the folks just a little bit of who you are, but let's start with Eric. Tell me about who you are and what you do, man.
Eric Medley. I currently live in Charleston, South Carolina. I'm a longtime Lincolnite from over 20 years. I was active in the Lincoln music scene pretty heavily during the 90s and the 2000s. Worked at a studio at that time called Studio Q and Master Tracks. Did a lot of recording during that time. And currently, Chris and I run Tremulant Records. And he runs it. He runs his studio. I run mine, and we have other producers also that are bringing things in. And I'm still very much a Lincoln person, but I live about 1,300 miles away. So
awesome. That is fantastic. Cool, Chris. Tell us about yourself, buddy.
Well, what's there to say? I own and operate Studio PH. I work with Eric a lot with Tremulant Records. Record lots of Lincoln bands. We like to make things loud and proud. I also work with BCN, Basement Creators Network, which we do a live stream. Well, ideally, we're doing a live stream video weekly. We were doing it before it became popular. But once it suddenly became popular, we were no longer able to do it quite so easily because we had too many people in one room.
Wow.
We've been trying to work out some ways to start that up again more regularly.
Cool.
But yeah, I live in Lincoln, have for the last, God help me, almost close to 30 years now.
Awesome, man. Well,
I help people make music.
Yes, you do, and you've helped me make music. I've not only been on Basement Creators Network with the Riverhawks, but we've kicked around some projects, and now recently I'm working with Eric on a project that I'm super excited about. Now, tell us about what you guys did recently you kind of threw out the hook on some projects. Was this out of boredom, or was this out of just wanting to give back, or what was this out of?
Well, can it be both?
You could, yeah, for sure. And that's kind of, yeah. And I was really excited because I had a project kind of in the wings that I really wanted to kind of, get some different ears on. So it worked out great for me. Anyway, tell us a little bit about that.
Well, a couple weeks ago I was bored, and so I pulled up an old mix of actually, what was it? It was War Bonnet, and it was one of the tunes that I originally recorded them and mixed them probably 5 years ago now, something like that, and I was happy with it at the time. But then I was listening to it again, and I was like, this could be bigger and better. And so just for fun, I pulled out one of their tunes. I'm trying to remember the name of it now.
Shorty.
Yeah, NC Shorty. Yeah, NC Shorty. So anyway, I pulled out NC Shorty, and I was like, okay, I'm going to Zeppelinify this thing a little bit. And, so I pulled it out, and I mixed it, and I was like, it would be fun to just...
Wait. Zeppelinify?
Yeah, John Bonham up the drums a little bit,
For those not in the sound world, this is an actual term.
No. Well, it can be now.
I think it should be, because all of us know exactly what that means.
Well,
that's like using the word rectangulate. It's not a word, but everybody knows what it means.
But everyone knows what it means, right? Yeah. So, so anyway, I decided I was going to do that, and then I was like, well, okay, nobody's going to hear this. And because we're not going to officially release it anywhere, so just because it's not practical, so I talked to the band, and they were okay with me sharing it. And so basically, I talked to Eric, and we set up a box folder, and we've just been dropping these files into Box. And so, you can stream out of Box if you want, but what we're trying to kind of encourage people to do is to actually download the file and put it on your device. For those people who, just want the MP3, it's there.
Yeah.
We also have the studio high res audio in there too. So if you want to, in the case of War Bonnet, that was 24-bit 44.1K. And that's how it was recorded. So that's how we put it out there. But, if we have one that's recorded at 96K, or whatever, we'll put them out there at that as well.
Okay.
So they're really big files, but they sound great, at least I think so. And that's kind of the idea. So I've been doing additional ones since then. I've done the Allendales. I did Bad Apple. I did some other ones in there too, but honestly, I can't remember all of them off the top of my head. And Eric has done some as well.
These are all just recently, right?
Yeah, and they're all stuff that, for the most part, that we've already done. But we're just kind of pulling them out and going, oh, okay, well.
Oh, just kind of, okay.
Let's revisit this song, Yeah. And, and I would actually probably be inclined to do one-offs for other people that I didn't actually record too.
Yeah.
Just for fun, normally I would be charging for it, but right now it's just like, well, give me a track. And obviously the agreement is, though, that if you give us the track to mix, then we're going to throw it in this folder. And
yeah, exactly.
Have it,
Well, anybody out there listening that is curious about either of your work, I would absolutely highly suggest people get in touch with you, not only for a freebie, but to actually have something mixed and pay you for it, because you're well worth it. I think you're some of the best mixers around. It's incredible. I've put out records that Chris has done, and I don't know, Eric, did you work on the Hanging Cowboy stuff?
Some of the mastering, yes.
Okay, so I've put out records that both of you have worked on, which is amazing, and those records sound top notch, incredible stuff. And Eric got a hold of me the other day, and I sent him one file, just a song that I thought would be fun, just to mess around with. And he sent me back a mix, I think within like 5 hours or something, maybe even less. And it was like,
Eric, you're supposed to sit on those longer to make it sound.
Yeah, that's a good rule of thumb. Don't give away your quickness. When I used to work at Skagway in Grand Island, I started and I was like the fastest stacker in the world. And I quickly learned that was a bad idea.
Yeah,
But
there's the only way to go from there is down.
yeah, you can't become a super stacker. You can just become a super stacker. But no, what I wanted to say was that my hair is already back, and I was blown back, man. I mean, this. It was incredible, man. We really knocked it out. I can't wait to share it with people.
To be
thanks.
fair, when you're mixing something, if you have great players on it, like the Hanging Cowboys or like the project that Eric's been doing for you, when you have great professional players, it is faster to mix because you're mixing, you're not fixing. You know? And so the end result sounds better, and
Yeah.
you can do it faster. You know,
Yeah.
and you just can.
So
Yeah, I think too. In my case, it was one of those. I brought it in. I always bring it in just to kind of make sure that everything's there, and then all the files made the trip, and it was one of those. As I was sitting there listening to it, I dig the tune and I dig in the track, and it's like an hour later, it's like, well, heck, I'm mixing this already.
Yeah.
So
I think that's what you said. You were like, what the hell? Here, check it out.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, here, give it a whirl.
That's awesome. Well, who's Joan Steffen?
That's my mom. Hi, Mom.
Oh, hi, Mom. She says, good morning, Chris.
Hi, Mom.
Oh,
Love you.
that's cute. Very cool. Awesome. We have a lot of folks tuning in. My dad's going nuts tagging people. So we have my dad and your mom. That's a great combination.
Hey, Mom, share the stream with your friends, Mom.
Yeah. Share it up. So
Copy
I said if I'm going to have Eric Medley on the show, I have to talk about something that is near and dear to my heart, and I know you know a ton of information about it. And there's so many mysteries surrounding it. The Shithook record. Can we talk about this for a second?
I will tell you anything I know.
Okay, all right, because I gotta say, and you guys can agree or disagree as much as you want, but I feel that that's one of the greatest Nebraska records ever put out.
I would agree with you. That,
like, ever.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think I hesitate to lay the trophy at anybody's particular feet because, I mean, I know this is cliche to say, but Nebraska, there's something in the water. And it's why, even though I live over 1,000 miles away, I'm still very active in Nebraska. There's something in the water. There's something in the air. I don't know what it is.
I agree.
But there are so many, fantastic artists and musicians in the area. It just blows my mind. But Shithook is right up there. And it is, and this is no exaggeration, in my 5 all-time favorite records, that record's in that bunch.
Is it really? Okay. So for those listening out there, the album is called When a Boy Scout Gets the Blues.
Yep.
Okay.
I don't think I've even heard it.
Oh, God.
Oh, dude, and not only the record, it is my top 5 album cover.
Yeah, here. I'll pull it up.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. You got it.
I know what I'll be doing after we're done here.
Yeah, and I actually, Sower Records, my record label, re-released it on vinyl, which as an audio file probably wasn't the right thing to do, but it's still, I wanted to have it on vinyl. I didn't care that it was mixed for a CD. It probably could have been remixed for the vinyl at the time, but honestly, it was such a shotgun project, Eric. I didn't even know you at the time, and now I wish we would have remixed it for vinyl and remastered it for vinyl. But still, it sounds awesome. I'm just trying to pull it up here. To me, that mix and that mastering of that record is, I don't even know how to explain it. Here, I'm gonna see.
Did you record it, Eric? Who did it? Did you
Actually, Phil recorded it. You got the picture?
Let me see if I can do this.
Phil recorded it. And then he kept bringing it over to my studio, and we would kind of tweak and carry on, and then he might go back. And yep, there it is.
So I didn't mean to pull my side up. That was an accident, but you can buy it here if people want to buy it. But anyway, this is the album cover, and it's such a big. I always thought for years and years that this was actually Phil Shoemaker, but it's not.
No.
This is a guy that I believe played. I want to say I think he played guitar or bass in another band, but he was like the only one small enough to fit in those clothes.
Right.
And that's how he got this gig as the cover art boy. And Kel Kent Wagamont wrote a big deal about it. I mean, this is like, and here's the mystique and mystery about this album. So Phil recorded all of it in his basement. Am I wrong?
That's correct.
Okay.
On an 8-track.
What, on an 8-track reel to reel?
Yeah, it was a Tascam. For those of you in the know, it was a Tascam 1/2-inch 8-track.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, 80-8, I believe. Was that right?
So,
General 80-8.
Yeah, it was old school.
Rhett McClure says, "Shit Hook rules. I added this album to 90.3 KRNU when it came out." That's awesome. That is awesome.
Charlie's wondering if it's available anywhere online.
I just pulled it up. It's on SoarRecords.com. You don't have to. Well, I mean, really, that's the only place I know that you can get it.
So it's not streamable?
I don't think it's. Well, that's a good question, man. I don't know if it's on Spotify. Maybe
I don't think it is. And a little tech talk, I can warn you. The other thing about that is one of those records that is insanely naturally loud.
Yes.
And but it's that, you know, and here again, you're talking to a person who's not a big fan of the loudness wars.
Right.
It's one of the few records I can say I enjoy it loud.
Right.
But having said that, technically speaking, if it's going to go on Spotify, it needs to kind of back up a bit.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Is there a natural compression that happens when you send records to Spotify? Have you guys noticed?
Spotify wants everything at -14 loudness units under full scale. That's what they put everything.
Oh, that's what they suggest?
No,
That's
they
not what they
require.
suggest. That's what they will make it be.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which is that's where the loudness wars have kind of died. And here again, I'm a fan. I mean, I'm not a big fan of streaming, but that's the one thing I can say I am. Is it when you listen to Spotify or whatever, despite the sound quality, the dynamics are good. You know, the music still has some dynamics to it.
Yeah.
They want everything a little quieter, and they'll turn it up for you.
Okay. Okay.
So when you're mastering for streaming, for example, you know, like in the old days, and Eric and I were talking about this just the other day. In the old days of you know, the old days being the 90s, and in early 2000s, when everybody was still making CDs, your loudness would be at, what would you say, Eric? Probably -8.
Yeah, -8. In fact, I pulled up when we were doing our mixes here. I pulled up one of the ones I was working on, and I think it luffed in at like -7.
I mean, which is loud.
Yeah, just a brick.
Loud. And I mean, and when you look at them, you know, your waveform, they just look like a sausage, you know.
Oh, okay.
But you know, so when you think of loudness, you know, I if you look back at where that really started, you know, there was kind of a joke that was going around the internet years ago too, where, you know, the loudness wars kind of began with Nirvana, in a sense, because they were just loud. And so then everybody else wanted to be as loud, so that, you know, obviously when you were playing in a jukebox in a bar, yours wasn't the quiet one, you know.
Okay.
So everybody got louder. But at any rate, so they were running them out at like -8, -7 loose. Well, now they want that at -14 loose, which means that when you're mastering for streaming, really where I set mine is if it's really loud, it might be -11. But I mean, typically I'm running in somewhere around -12, 12.5 usually these days. You know, and there's actually there's loudness meters that you can use. There's a free one called Youling, I think it is. Youling, Youling, I think it is. Is that right, Eric? I think.
I think it's you lean like you're leaning against a wall, or I don't know if it's pronounced lean or Ulean.
Ulean, loudness meter, and you can get a free version of it. Throw it across your mix bus and just kind of pay attention to how loud you're making it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Well,
So
that's
a little tip for the home record itself.
So I'm going to throw a little audible here. I'm going to try to call Phil Shoemaker real quick.
Okay.
Hold on. If he answers, I'll be befuddled. But I want to ask him if the CD and record isn't available online anywhere. Can you guys hear that?
If it's not, let's talk later.
Yes.
Hello?
Hi, Phil Shoemaker. You're on the air live with Red Rebel Media. How you doing?
Well, thanks for taking my call.
Can you get?
For taking your call.
You're welcome for taking your call.
What can I?
So can hold on just a second. Can the listeners out there hear? Can you guys hear?
We can hear.
Okay. So I'm on a live stream talk show right now with Eric Medley and Chris Steffen, both sound engineers. Eric Medley, you know.
Yeah.
And Chris Steffen, I think you might know too.
Hi, Eric. It's been a while.
It has been. How you doing, man?
Okay.
Good. Well, we're talking about when a Boy Scout gets the blues.
That old thing?
And I gotta say, these guys don't know, but when I approached Phil, I've known Phil for many years. We used to party with him every Thursday at Duffy's when he played with Shithook, playing at Duffy's for 18,000 years. But when I first approached Phil Shoemaker and said, I want to release When a Boy Scout Gets the Blues on vinyl, and he goes, pardon my French or whatever, but he said, why the fuck do you want to do that?
I'm still wondering why you want to do that.
Well, it's become a cult classic, and it still is, and it still will be. It's one of the greatest Nebraska records, and that's why. But now we've got some people asking, is it available online digitally to listen to? Is it on any streaming service right now?
Well, no.
It should be. Can we make that happen somehow? We should.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, okay.
Tell me how.
Okay.
Tell me how. I'm for the handful of people that will want to access it, I would do that. Does that cost me any money?
No, it won't cost you. Well, no, we can talk about how to do it. I don't think it'll cost you any money. I think you make money on it, but it's pretty ridiculous. We don't want to get into how much you'll make because I'll get red in the face and start throwing my chair.
Oh, come on, Mike. There are literally tens of cents involved here.
But there's quite a few people saying Phil rocks. Good morning, everybody. Yep. Everybody loves Shithook, so we're trying to figure out how to get this online. It's for sale on the Sower Records website if you want the vinyl, or they can hunt you down and buy it too. But a lot of people are stuck at home and they want to figure out how to listen to this online. But let's work out the details. I just wanted to call you and say, first of all, hello, and second of all, say how magical that album was that you recorded in your basement. It's unbelievable.
Well, I am even now. I am proud of that. The way that turned out, most of them, I still, I have it on my iPhone, and I often listen to music with the shuffle.
Oh, sure.
Thing, and every once in a while, a song from that will come on, and for a second, I'm going, oh, but what I usually think to myself is, man, this sounds pretty good. Compared to all the other crap I have on here, and
it's true.
That was I can't believe though how many years ago it was we did that, and
yeah, unreal.
But then if you want to help me out, we can make that available.
That is awesome. Well, I'm sitting here with my guest, and I brought it up to Eric because I wanted to know his involvement and kind of just give him a high five, virtual high five thing for all it sounded great.
But yeah, you know, if you want to help me out,
I think we have audio feeding back in somewhere.
That is awesome. Well, okay, cool. Well, hey, buddy, I'll call you back later. Okay? I brought it up to Eric because I wanted to know his involvement. Just give him a high five, virtual high five thing for all it sounded great. What do we do? I think we started a loop.
Does somebody have their computer audio on?
I think we're on. Is that better?
I think it fixed it.
Jesus,
That was.
you did.
How many audio engineers does it take to?
You just put shit all over everything.
You know, it seems only appropriate that problem should have cropped up with a bunch of audio engineers in the meeting.
That's right. That's right.
So
Oh my gosh. So anyway, thanks for entertaining that idea to bring him on. I think he's a fantastic. His glass is perpetually always empty, but I will say he's one of the greatest guys around. And not only that, what he's done to the music scene with his live band karaoke stuff is incredible. Sorry to bore you guys with that, but that to me, that's one of the coolest things. And I know that Eric, you were a part of that. So how cool is that? So Chris, tell us about something fun that you're working on recently. I know you just did with the War Bonnet stuff, but what else is on your plate? Tell us. You mentioned something about Knight Rider earlier. What is that?
Oh, Night Ranger?
Oh, Knight Ranger. That's what I mean.
Well, I suppose that's arguably fun. I made a quip about a rap artist that called me the other day and had to get in that night and then didn't show up, as was expected. Jake Reisdorf actually said that he was looking forward to my Night Ranger medley, my MIDI Night Ranger medley. And so I've actually begun to construct I don't think it'll be a medley. I think it's just going to be one song. But
That's incredible.
Throwing together a nice MIDI Night Ranger thing for the public to enjoy.
A MIDI Night Ranger.
MIDI.
Yeah, MIDI, yeah.
MIDI. It will be a complete pile of garbage in this way.
Hey, this is where we're at as a civilization. We're doing things that we never thought we'd do, right?
You are 100% correct.
I mean, I didn't really think I would host a streaming show like this, but it's been pretty fun, and I'm kind of learning a lot.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, and once you can get the streaming thing isn't hard. It's getting it to look and sound good. That's the hard part, right?
That is tough. Yeah.
But
But
yeah, that and we just started, in the very early stages of a new Domestica album. So.
Oh my goodness! Really?
Yeah. Yes. So
those out there that don't know, Domestica is one of the greatest legendary local bands that goes back years and years. They were actually my first punk rock experience when they with their previous band,
Mercy Rule.
Mercy Rule. In 1992, I saw them at the skate ramp in Grand Island, Nebraska.
Yeah, I saw them when they were 13 Nightmares.
The
day they played in Bow Valley. Near where I grew up, and then I saw them. I think they were still 13 Nightmares, or maybe they were Mercy Rule by then. I saw them at King's Court in Sioux City, Iowa, which was
my gosh,
crazy punk club in Sioux City that was in an old school, and
it was called the King's Court.
King's Court, because it was on. I think maybe that was the name of the street it was on or something, but it was weird. I mean, you'd pull up to this thing and it was this old stone school. And if I remember right, there was a bar in there, but I was in high school, so I was underage. I couldn't get up into the bar, but it was a state. It was like the old gymnasium, I think, I mean, my memories of it are somewhat fuzzy at this point, but it was a wild venue. I
Oh
mean,
my.
and it was a lot of fun. I mean, it was when you to my teenage mind's eye, if you watched some old 80s movies, this was sort of the real life version of that. But at any rate, I saw them there.
That's amazing. Wow.
Yeah,
You know,
I
a
even
lot
bought
of
a
those
T-shirt.
venues were something before, kind of like, the drumstick chicken place and then turned into rock venue. And
Right.
like right at 7 o'clock or right at 9 o'clock, they kick everybody out that had grease on their fingers, and all of a sudden everybody started drinking, and it turned into a punk rock club. And from my understanding, everybody was kicked out at 1 in the morning or 2 in the morning back then, and then it became a chicken place immediately again thereafter. It was open 24 hours.
Right.
I remember thinking King's Court was the coolest place on earth because I was standing there in the performance area, in the gym or whatever, and this guy turned over, and he spit on my foot.
Oh,
And well, he spit on my foot, and I was like, "The hell!" And then he turned and he looked at me and he apologized. And I thought to myself, "Okay,
we're experimenting here. Cool.
well, he apologized." Which meant he didn't intend to do it, which meant this place isn't so bad.
Oh, I see. I thought he was that's just how they welcome you.
No. I think it was purely accidental. And so he was like, "I'm sorry, man.
Wow, incredible.
Hey, yeah, you're not so bad. You may
I take that back. I think the drumstick actually shut down for 1 hour, maybe 1 or 2 hours, because they had to clean up. It was
had to hose down the place.
from the stories I've heard. Yeah. So Eric,
It closed down right before I got here, so I didn't.
yeah, legendary, man. Absolutely legendary. Eric, what got you into the music scene back in the day?
Okay. Short version of the story was I moved to Lincoln to. I was marrying my wife at the time, and we moved there back in '85. And during that time, I had been working as a studio engineer, more of a traditional studio engineer, not an indie. And I kind of was just nose to the grindstone, getting through school and all that, sort of telling myself I'm not going to go work in the studio. Well, I ended up working in the studio because it's a great job. And here again, just kind of stumbled upon this music scene that was this, like Chris was mentioning, at that time, it was New Brass Guns, 13 Nightmares, the Millions that kind of just got started, and so I was working at a studio then and just kind of got in and just got involved with it. My first record, I kind of was working at Studio Q at the time, and I kind of got into this whole idea of being an indie. And I really worked hard, and I talked to John and Heidi and Mercy Rule, and I talked to guys in Sideshow, talked to the Millions, the Yard Apes.
Oh my God!
Roosevelt Franklin. I'm trying to think of. I'm not trying to name drop. I'm just trying to think of all these names.
Yeah.
And just was like, you got to come in. And so we just started doing all this recording, and here again, like Chris says, I mean, it's not hard to record these people. They're just that good, And so,
did you do Plastic Trumpet, Eric?
Yes. Well, yes, yeah.
I love that album. I love that.
Wasn't that like Elsner and John? Wasn't that some of the femur guys in that Plastic Trumpet?
I'm trying to remember. There was boy. This is testing my memory, which is really bad. Jonathan Hiskey.
Yeah, John Hiskey. That's what I was thinking.
Colby Stark was the drummer, wasn't he?
Yeah, Colby Stark. It's funny you're bringing up Colby. Colby and I literally chatted yesterday. So
yeah, Colby's great, man. He's out in Chicago, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, John Hitchkey's father was in my dad's band, The Smoke Ring.
Yes.
And John's awesome. He's a great dude and killer bass player. Like,
oh yeah, he's
renowned, I would say. I would
inhuman.
I think he played with the Shins and geez. I mean, the Nebraska history that we're talking about here is like epic.
Mm-hmm.
These players and bands are beyond historic, some of the early rock bands like that, I mean, they're still doing it. Domestica is essentially the same band But Paul Tisdale, the drummer, now what was his band before? He was in a
Sideshow.
right. So they kind of joined forces,
Mhm.
and that kind of turned into Domestica, which if you've not seen Domestica, you would absolutely remember it. It's just one of the loudest, most gorgeous, beautiful things you'll ever see.
Yeah.
They're
It's
very force to be reckoned with.
super
It's majestic. That's the word that comes to mind.
loud, ripping. Yeah, John's awesome. I frequently get mistaken for a relative of John. And funny enough, John and I have kind of befriended each other in the past few years, and we get together and we start talking. So I was like, hey, let's go to lunch. And so we went to lunch at one of our favorite places, El Chaparro. And him and I both walking in there is like two twins walking in because we look so much alike. Everybody's like, oh my God, for years I thought you were the same guy.
Well, I think you guys both cuff your jeans, don't you?
I think his story is that he kicked a guy in the face once. My story is that I survived a flood. So yes, we both cuff our jeans. Yeah, it's weird. We look and we dress alike. It's very strange, but thank God he's a good dude and he doesn't get arrested a lot. You know.
I always remember that when I the people who were at the studio at the time didn't really know about him, and of course they heard the tapes when we were recording.
Oh,
and and I mean Heidi, or if you don't know,
his wife. Yep.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, John's wife, Heidi, or if you don't know anything about her, she vocally and sort of just her presence when she's in front of a microphone can be extremely intimidating. She's a massive, powerful singer and presence.
Yes.
And John, John's guitars are, he does not know a soft volume. And of course, back at the time, it was, they've had a few different drummers in position, but, Paul Tisdale is the same way. He's a very aggressive sort of player. And they were listening to these tapes and they were like, what are these people like? I said, they are the nicest, most calm, friendly people you'll ever know. And so they really are just really great people.
Yes, it's great. I'm actually messaging him right now.
Tell him I'll give him a yell a little bit later this morning and pick up that post hole auger from him.
I haven't talked to him. Yeah, he tried to pawn off the PBR that he bought and overbought. He's like, want some PBR? Our hockey season's over. So you want to drink it?
Well, that means that I shouldn't bring him any PBR when I pick that auger up later.
Because my wife throws around PBR on stage all the time. We get asked a lot about PBR, and funny enough, I mean, we should just get sponsored by PBR. And I, for years in Chicago, I tried to get sponsored by Old Style, and Heilemann's, the company that makes Old Style, traded hands like every 3 weeks. It was sold to another subsidiary, and it just got thrown around like a ugly stepchild, and it was terrible. So we never could land a sponsorship with them because nobody knew who owned it. So anyway, yeah, but awesome. Well, that is incredible information. Wendy Banham says Brickyard Days. Oh, the Brickyard. That's another classic place.
The Brickyard was down in the Haymarket, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
it's basically just a little warehouse down there.
Does anybody know who owned it?
Mm-hmm.
I was under the impression that they just kind of occupied the space.
So the Lohmeyers own the Drumstick, and she's currently trying to raise funds for a documentary, which is really cool, about the Drumstick. And there's the Lohmeyer family. Kathy Lohmeyer got a hold of me recently to help with that, and it's like we played a benefit at the Drumstick, and the owners of the Drumstick live a couple doors down from me right now in my new house we just bought. But they're really cool people. But the Lohmeyer family owned the Drumstick, and they have like unbelievable stories about it. It's just they go deeper and deeper every time I talk to one of them, and it's just the whole family ran it. It was just incredible. But,
yeah, there's also a lot of tie-in with Charlie Burton and the fill in the blank, whatever the band name happened to be at that time.
yeah, I think Charlie Burton was kind of a staple at the Drumstick.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the vibe I got. And Charlie Burton's still playing incredible stuff, man. Yeah, unbelievable.
I saw Charlie Burton at Lincoln Exposed this year.
Yeah,
It was a great show. It was a great show.
yeah, they still tear it up, man. If you ever get if viewers and listeners out there get a minute, make sure to Google Charlie Burton. Actually, I should find it. It's an old video of them playing on campus, I believe, and it's like a campus. It's like a college video that somebody made for them, and the camera cuts to a close up of Charlie, and he's like got a pill box upside down, and he's just like drowning pills and they're stuck to his sweat, and he's in the camera like chewing pills, and it's just like the craziest stuff. Like they were beyond at the time, just beyond nuts. I mean, opening for bands like the Ramones, they were for Talking Heads. I mean, this is a Nebraska band that really had great success.
Mm-hmm.
Incredible stuff. Well, cool. I want to switch gears a little bit because I want to help those out there that are in the midst of, first of all, streaming from work, like working from home, but also the sound engineers out there that are kind of backs against the wall with what to get and what to use. And I know you guys know a lot about this stuff. Right now, there's a ton of like plug-in companies offering deals and tons of like really amazing stuff happening. Can you talk a little bit about, not to give away the farm, but talk about what your favorite tools are when you're home engineering, or like think about somebody that's just getting into it and what they might want. Eric, what do you use? What's your favorite go-to stuff?
Well, I use Pro Tools by Avid / DigiDesign. I mean, my rig, which I guess I've got behind me, it's a Pro Tools HD3 rig, so it's actually a little bit old. I use a lot of the standard plugins that almost everybody has. My rig is a little different in that I do a lot of mixing analog. So even though I'm using Pro Tools as my workstation, a lot of the mix happens in the analog side of things. I have over here a rack that's got some tube mixers and things that everything kind of goes in and gets mixed together. Some Altec and Ampex tube mixers. So
you take it from digital into analog and then back again?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. That's great, and that's probably how you get that real nice warm sound. That's pretty cool.
It helps. So yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely.
Yeah, that Ampex is not subtle in the best way. I mean, it's when you run a mix through that Ampex that Eric's got.
Yeah.
And we've A/B'd it before on some stuff that I've mastered for Eric, and he's like, "Well, should I run it through this or not?" And he sends me them, and I'm like, "Yeah, go through the Ampex."
Yeah.
Call that? I'm curious. It's called an Ampex what?
What is that? A PR10?
It's an MX-10.
Don't tell everybody that, because they're hard enough to find at a decent price already. So
yeah,
everybody, they suck. You don't want one.
Yeah, I couldn't unrecommend it far enough. In fact, if you have them and need to throw one away, send it to me. Yeah, there he is.
Yep, that's it.
So this is a hardware piece. It's not I bet there's a plug-in out there, but
Not for that.
Probably not like this. Probably not like the warmth of.
Well, not designed around that specifically.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I also use it as a microphone preamp as well.
Really?
Yeah, I have a couple, 2 or 3 different mics I like to plug into it. It has if you're wanting to know what the sound is, it's kind of I don't know, it's a little gritty, but in that here again in that good way. It's like you're like, is this clean? Not exactly, but I really like what it does.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah, it's actually a mixer. Is what it is.
It is a mixer, yeah.
It's
It's
a
a
4-2
410.
mic mixer. So it's an old school, like you might have seen it in. I mean, Eric, probably in like potentially like some high school somewhere. You know, they might have had one where it was like, this is what we used to amplify the microphones in the gym.
No
You
kidding.
know, it would feed into their All-Tech, amplifier or whatever. Although a lot of times those guys just had All-Tech setups. But,
Yeah, it is a PA system. So you got your outs, and then it looks
yeah, I mean, it's not powered. It's just a mic or a line level output on it. But,
yeah, I used to see them a lot in radio stations. They were kind of the production reel-to-reels if they were doing commercials or whatever on a reel-to-reel. That was the mixer that was mounted right in the rack with the reel-to-reel. And it basically gave you the ability to mix in the reel-to-reel and then a microphone or two for doing voiceover work or whatever. So
crazy.
I mean, don't let the age fool you. I mean, back then they took their audio very seriously and made it, it was one of those, nobody worried about expensive stuff because it's like, well, we got to, I've got to put a tube in this and this is the one I'm going to use. And, parts aren't expensive and people can solder. So,
right.
I use that. And then the other is I use a couple Altec 1492As that are, 6-channel mixer. And those are from radio stations as well. They're a radio station board.
Did you just find this stuff over the years? How'd you get it?
The Ampex was, I bought the Ampex from a dear friend who, Mark Hansen. He had it forever. And here again, he made some great recordings as well. And actually, Mark is in Chris's band, Magnum Melodier.
Mark is a gear junkie.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
He lives
he's gotten out of most of it, I think, unfortunately.
We moved into our new house in August, and guess who lives across the street?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, oh, this is not going to help my habitual.
Gas.
Yeah, the Altec, I think I got one of them. I have two of them that are the tube versions. One I got off eBay, and the other I think I found. It was one of those. I was decommissioning a sound system for somebody, and there it was. And I was like, "What are you gonna do with this?" And they said, "Just throw it away." I was like, "I'll take it."
Oh wow, gee,
So
that's crazy.
yeah.
So I put a post on Facebook the other day about, hey, engineers, what's your favorite plugin? And I kind of thought that I would see some repetitiveness, but there's so many sound engineers that piped up and said different things. And so it just kind of makes me believe that I think it's sort of what you started with or what you're used to, maybe. Wouldn't you say, Chris?
I think that's accurate. I mean, for example, I use Waves plugins a lot.
Okay.
And it's sort of, I think Waves was probably one of the bigger ones early on. And I kind of got into that ecosystem, and
yeah,
I've never gotten out.
Yeah, and they have like 5,000 plugins, right?
Well, right. And so there's some things about Waves, especially at this point, that I find really irritating. They've kind of become the Shopko of plugins right now, where you go to their website and it's like, this plugin is $500, but for today only, you can get it for $29.95.
Yeah, right.
And it's like, well, come on, guys. If they're always on sale, then that's just the price,
Right.
But
you can get like $10 a month. You can use it forever. Not forever.
Waves hasn't jumped on that quite the same way as like Slate has, and that's one of the things about Slate that I really like. But I've only got one Slate plugin that I bought, and but I really like it. It's the drum trigger thing, and I will use that when I get. Occasionally, I'll use it on my own stuff and like blend it in with another drummer. But like with the BCN stuff, where we don't have a lot of time to spend perfecting drum miking before a show, or if I get a recording from somebody who did it at home, and they may not, they're not running through the kind of gear that I have here, or have they're in a 7-foot tall room or whatever.
Yeah.
I'll use the Slate drums to blend in with their drums. It's still their drums, still sounds like their drums, but you're able to bolster it a little bit. But as far as your initial question though, I use Waves primarily because I'm already using Waves, and I can make them work.
Yeah.
And I don't know if there's better ones out there. There probably are. I use a lot of Soundboard as well. So
I was wrong. They don't do the monthly thing. So they do right now. They're doing like 93%. You can save. So like you can get a whole collection.
Like I said, Shopko.
Yeah, like 90. Save 93% right now, folks.
Right. And I really like Slate's concept of the $15 a month for everything. I think that's really cool. But if it were to come down to it, where I had to upgrade in here and I lost all my Wave stuff, or had to spend thousands of dollars to keep up with it, I would probably consider going over to Slate just because I can. I know Ian Elio was mentioning somebody the other day too, is it Plugin Alliance? Is that right? Maybe.
Oh yeah.
He was talking about them and singing their praises, and I'd be kind of interested to check them out as well.
Yeah, they're doing a big.
I mean, at the end of the day, you only need so many plugins. It's like you look at somebody's setup and they've got 1,000 different compressors, and it's like, listen, man, you're probably only using 5.
That's what I like. People's go-to is people's go-to. Like it's
right.
They know what they want to use and.
Right. I mean, and I'm always interested in learning some new stuff and finding a new tool, especially when they can be real game changers. Like Waves Sibilance plugin was kind of a game changer for me because I've never been happy with a de-esser. It's like I can set it up, but no matter what, it just never, ever, ever sounds quite right to me. And maybe it's just my own deficiency in setting it up. I don't know.
Right.
But Waves Sibilance plugin, they were giving it away at one point, and I downloaded it, and it sat in my folder for months. I didn't touch it. And one day I was like, and it got to the point with Sibilance where for a couple of artists, I got so sick of the way the de-esser itself sounded that I was literally going in and using clip gain in Pro Tools and turning down every sibilant sound manually.
Oh, geez.
Like, why can't I just have something that just does this?
Yeah.
And as it turns out, that's pretty much what this Sibilance plugin that Waves has does.
So
it's not
track and finds the parts for you.
Yeah, you set the threshold and it basically just turns it down.
There was one.
I'm sure it's more complicated than that, but it's it's pretty amazing what it does.
Have you guys heard of Soothe 2 from Oak Sounds or Oeak Sounds?
Mm-hmm.
Who's that?
It's called Soothe 2 from OEK Sound. It's kind of like what you're talking about. It's a dynamic resonance suppressor, so it takes the whole file and then kind of just automates it. But I've heard from numerous folks that it's killer. Might be something to check out. But yeah, it's here's the website, and it's overseas somewhere. I don't know where it's at, but it's in Finland. It's from Finland, but I've heard from numerous folks that it's really great. I don't know.
And what is it? It soothes harshness?
So it's weird. It's not a compressor. It's not an EQ, but it takes the whole file, and they call it a dynamic resonance suppressor. So it removes harshness, I guess, balances sibilance, kind of what you're talking about, but it's all automated. And
what I find with some of these plugins is that some of them, they're just duplicating what people can do if they know what to do with the tools they have.
I think, this is a quicker method, yeah.
Right, and sometimes they're just like, well, it's like, we're going to do it all for you, which I think is cool,
Anything to save time in the studio, yeah, it's pretty crazy. But, I'm coming across a lot of different fun tools, and I would say for a gearhead, the more and more I get into it, the more and more stuff I see that I want, which is dangerous. But for you guys, I don't know how Eric's studio is. I've been to Chris's spot, and it's clear that you like hardware as well. Not
I
just,
do.
yeah. Now, in your case, what's your go-to piece of hardware? Do you use a lot of outboard hardware like that?
I have a Chandler RS-124 sitting back here that is, I mean, you can't use it on everything because you just can't. I mean, it's sort of like it makes an iron bar and sets it in the center of your mix.
Oh,
And
okay.
so pretty soon, if you use it on everything, it's just overdone.
Oh,
But it is by far and away my favorite piece of gear. I mean, it is an unbelievably good sounding compressor.
and for those who don't know, Chris, I don't know Eric's setup, but again, I've been to Chris's spot, and you have built your own studio. You have a raised floor.
Yeah. Well, it's the whole room is floated. The live room is floated. So
Right.
and I'm in a residential neighborhood, and I've been here I've been in this space for 8 years since it's been finished, and I have never had a cop show up. And you can have an SVT blasting in there at 2 a.m, and the siding might be rattling a little bit on the side of the house, but my wife and kids are still sleeping in the house. So
I haven't been invited to the keg party yet, and I'm wondering what's going on with that.
to the keg party.
Yeah, you could never get busted. It's like
That's not true, Mike. You've been out here when there have been kegs.
well, fair enough.
Not recently, but
Not recently.
given the current situation,
For those that don't know, if a truck goes by your place and you're in a studio, I mean, you can really kind of feel that and hear it. So in your case, your floating room
you won't hear it.
kind of cuts away from that. That's
Well,
pretty-
and that's I back up to a main road here in Lincoln, a high traffic road. And so when we built here originally because it was sort of it was a necessity of convenience.
Yeah.
But we got a good deal on the spot and all that. But so when I built the room, I had to overbuild basically to make up for the fact that there could be a semi going through my backyard.
yeah.
And and it worked. I can have somebody playing a quiet acoustic guitar in the live room, and you can have somebody drive by and it isn't never going to matter. I guess to put it in perspective, I have been in the live room doing some work, and a thunderstorm will be raging outside, and I will step outside and go, oh my God, perhaps I should unplug my equipment.
Oh, geez.
It's like I didn't even know what was going on,
Taylor says, "Say only good things."
Say only good things?
That's what he says. Say only good things. I said, we're talking about you on the Red Rebel show. He says,
Oh, right.
say only good things.
Well, and we only did.
So him and I are working on a secret project I can't tell anybody about, but just know it's going to change the city. That's all I'm going to say. It's going to change the whole city. So I'm going to keep some people on their toes.
Does it involve a backhoe?
Actually, yes, it does. And multiple trucks pulling multiple things.
Cool.
That's your hint. So
Cool.
awesome. Well, you guys have been a delight. Eric, I'm so excited about working with you on stuff. And I think your ears are gold, man. I think
Oh, thank you. That's very kind. Yeah.
Cindy Banham says so too. And Chris, and same goes for you, man. You guys are some of the best around. And how can, now you mentioned Tremulant Records. How many records have you guys put out now?
Oh my goodness.
A lot.
Since 1993.
No kidding.
Boy, oh boy. I know I was looking at our database the other day, and I think we're well over 50 for the history. I'd say within recent time, we're probably at around 23 records.
Wow. Man, that is awesome. That is awesome. Well, check out Tremulant Record. Where can they do that? Where can they go?
Tremulant.com. That's TREMULANT.com.
And it's both of you guys that run that, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Beautiful.
The way it works out a lot is that a lot of times, not always, but a lot of times, a lot of the bed tracks will get done here, and Eric will end up mixing those quite often. But sometimes I mix it. Sometimes other people record it. You know, it just kind of depends. So.
Well, we've been talking about doing more collaborations with Sower Records, and honestly, guys, we need to do something. I think that back in the day there was a great comp called Lenoma, and it was Omaha bands and Lincoln bands, and I somehow got a copy of it and it just blew me away. There was some killer bands on that. And
that was Dan Schlissel and I did that.
Oh, did you do that? Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I've been trying to find who did that for years.
Yeah, Dan Schlissel and I did that. Dan was Ismist Records. Oddly enough, I can say this: Dan and I are working on a project right now with Stand Up Records.
That's so great, man! I can't believe this. I seriously love that comp, and always wondered. Not only was the artwork incredible, but I've talked to numerous bands about that, saying, "Who did it? Who was behind it?" And I just never was able. This is incredible.
That's Dan Schlissel and me did that, and the label was called Fire Records at that time.
Fire Records, okay. Man, Eric, you're tied to some really historic stuff.
Like I'm old, so.
You're still cranking out stuff, man. Come on, this is well. I'm so happy to get you guys on the show and talk about stuff. You know, like right now, I think people out there just need stuff to chew on. I mean, you know, it helps with the cabin fever. It helps with, you know, just keeping you sane and all that. But what are you guys? I know that what you mentioned earlier. Have people reach out to you if you're looking for avenues on how to mix yourself, or if you need some stuff mixed yourself or mixed by these guys. Reach out to them. I know that these COVID-19 times has changed a lot. What do you guys, Chris? How's this changed your business profile?
Well, you know, I have, you know, obviously, as I mentioned earlier, the BCN thing is sort of like kind of not on hold, but, you know, in a weird place right now because we can't put all the people in one space.
Right.
You know, I'm kind of, I'm still recording people, but I'm kind of not bringing in full bands because we can't really pack into this space, and social distancing is virtually impossible. So, you know, we're working around that. You know, with John, he came in last weekend, and it was literally just him and I, and, you know, we laid down a scratch/bed track.
Cool.
For guitar, and, you know, and then we'll bring in drums after, you know, Paul come in and do drums, and we'll just kind of do it in pieces like that.
Oh, wow.
You know, so we're kind of working around what we got to do. I've actually thought about maybe trying to record an album in my backyard.
Oh, wow.
You know, maybe talk to a band and go, all right, let's do this outside. You know, so we can keep away from each other, you know.
Oh, that's incredible. That would be
so, you know, but I'm doing a lot of mixing, you know, and things like that, and just kind of keep it on trucking.
Keep it on trucking. How about you, Eric? How's this whole thing changed your world?
I'm a little different from Chris in that I don't typically do recording. I'm pretty much just mixing or doing post-production. Okay. So my world hasn't changed much, except we're working with a lot of the artists on Tremelin right now. And we ran into that same issue. We, you know, literally one of the band Montgomery, the one of the singers from that is working on a solo record, and she had to cancel literally because they closed the city down on her trip down from Omaha.
Oh, wow.
So we're working on, I'm doing a lot of records. I'll get in trouble for saying this, especially from some people involved, but I am working on remixing the original Millions Raquel.
Oh, wow. Jeez.
Yeah. So that's, and here again with social distancing, I had to bring the tapes down here to transfer them into Pro Tools. And we have to be careful going to the studio because, you know, I can go there with tapes, but I can't go with anybody else and have them. And fortunately, the engineer that is there at the studio I'm working at here wasn't even born when Raquel came out.
Wow.
So he's happy to have an old person like me around who actually knows how to run a 24 track.
Oh my gosh.
But that's about as close as I can get to it. And so it's really kind of messed up the timing of a lot of things. So we had another record that was supposed to be released beginning of April. We pulled it because there was no way to do a release show. So
Yeah. Well,
I will say I've heard a little bit of the Millions mixes already, and they're just awesome.
oh, nice, man. Cool.
Yeah, they're everybody's gonna love that. I mean, everybody who loves the Millions are gonna love that.
Super.
And maybe people who don't know they love the Millions yet. So,
Man, that is awesome. I can't wait for that. Another legendary Nebraska band.
yeah.
I mean, that actually saw quite a bit of national success.
Mhm.
They had a video on MTV
and international.
yeah, international.
They were huge in Europe. So everybody knows Randy LeMaster, who's been, in my opinion, one of their super fans and another producer. He's getting ready to release pretty soon some more material from them. We're hoping that the Millions will kind of become a thing again at some level. We don't know yet, but we're talking about that. So.
That's awesome, man. That is awesome.
Kyle Martin is asking about the best software for a rookie.
Oh, best software for rookie. Kyle, if you were tuning in earlier, we talked about Slate. Has some really great plugins that are on a monthly program. I think it's like $10 a month right now. Then there's
15 actually, but still.
Is it $14.99?
15. It's $14.99.
Was he asking about plugins or DAW?
Oh,
he just says software.
Oh, software.
DAW. I mean,
yeah.
DAWs are largely all roads lead to Rome.
I think it's probably smart to do the monthly Pro Tools thing if you're looking to try something out. I would learn Pro Tools and start from there. I'm not a I'm a novice. I don't.
Well, you're a Logic guy, aren't you, Mike? I mean,
I went from Pro Tools to Logic, and now I'm using the new Luna from UA, and I love. I think it. And
Luna will only work with UA hardware, won't it? Is that
correct? Correct.
Yeah. So,
but
if you want to buy a less expensive interface, it's not.
Yeah, it's not the way to start, but you can get a cheap piece of a cheaper piece of UA hardware, and not if you're just a one input kind of singer songwriter guy and start out that way. Luna is a really amazing DAW, and they don't even call it a DAW really, because it uses everything with low latency and kind of ties it all in together. And so it's pretty amazing. I'm still learning it because it's so new. They released it prematurely. They released it because of the COVID-19 thing.
I would say, just for Kyle's benefit, if you're looking for a simple setup where you can get a zero latency or near zero latency mix, maybe look at the things like the Focusrite Scarlett stuff as far as your interface goes, because it's not terribly expensive. And the nice thing about them is that it will route your input signal directly back out so that you can monitor with zero latency, which is a slick feature that is not really included on a lot of higher end DAWs.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know
why. We should probably say too, just so if for people just getting started, what latency means is your computer, even though it's very, very fast, takes a little time to do things. You know that when you're watching videos, you'll see the stuttering. What happens is when you sing into a microphone or play into the microphone, the computer has to take that signal, convert it to digital. It does something inside there, and then it spits it back out to your headphones so you can hear. The time it takes from when you sing to when you hear it in your headphones is audible. It's very fast, but it can be delayed, so you sort of sound like you're singing at a baseball park where you're oh say. So when you're going for that, the buzzword you're looking for is you want low latency, which means it brings in that audio and spits it back to you really fast, so that you don't have to deal with an echo while you're tracking.
Right. And so since it feeds it directly back from your input, it never actually gets to the computer before it comes to your headphones. It's a feature that some of them have. So I would look for something like that, just as, it's sort of a help. If you don't have a big old console where you can do all these crazy routing and things like that. So there's that. And then as far as DAWs go, I saw, again, another great engineer, Ian Elio, the other day was singing the praises of Persona Studio One, I've never used it. I don't know how well it works. I know a lot of people love it though. There's Logic, obviously. The nice thing about Logic is it doesn't cost a whole lot of money. I think it's $200, which is, in the DAW world pretty darn cheap.
And it's kind of like a garage band.
Well, yeah, what it is it's okay. GarageBand doesn't do what I want it. There doesn't do enough for me anymore. Okay, let me get Logic.
Yeah.
And personally, I'm not a huge fan of Logic, but that's because of the way I work. And I work with Pro Tools too, and I'm kind of old school as well in the way I route things and stuff like that. But I've worked with Logic, and the things good that I can say about Logic is that it sounds good, and its stock plugins are damn good.
Mm-hmm.
And I suspect if I worked with Logic more, I would learn to route it in a similar way that I route Pro Tools. It's just that I haven't worked with it enough to develop that. But Logic is good. Pro Tools is obviously good. You can get that for like $25 a month, I think, for a subscription. There's always Reaper.
Reaper, that's it.
Which Reaper's not bad either. Reaper is not as user friendly, I think, as some. I mean, as you work in it, it works real well, but it kind of reminds you of working on a Windows 98 computer. I mean, just the way it's kind of the text and things like that. But they also have these overlays and stuff that you can put in there that makes it prettier. The thing I've noticed about Reaper is that it sort of relies on you to have either be willing to figure it out or to have a working understanding of audio engineering before you start.
Mm-hmm.
Because there are certain things in there that just they don't just lay it out for you, I think, in some of the ways that some of them do. But you can get Reaper for free to try. Yeah, which is a big thing, so you could go download it now and be working with it in the next, the next hour.
Good question, Kyle. Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
We talk a little bit about the DAWs out there. That's awesome. It's a weird world, but I think when it comes down to it, it's like Chris said, it's like what you're used to, and you really have to base it on your workflow,
Right. Well, and your workflow is going to end up, if you get into something, that's where your workflow is going to go.
Yeah.
You're going to work with the tool that you have, and you'll find that every person who works on a DAW will look at you and say, my DAW is the best, which is complete crap.
Right.
I mean, not that it's not the best for them, but it's really just on, once you're headed down that road and you learn how to use that tool, that's the tool you use.
Right. Yeah.
So that you make a mix on every one of these. If you ran the audio out of every one of these with nothing else on it, and then brought them in together and flipped the phase between the two of them, they're gonna cancel out. So from a ones and zeros standpoint, they're the same. That's until you start getting into some of the other little things that they do in there. One last one, Harrison Mixbus. I have used Harrison Mixbus, and it's kind of fun. It's a cool DAW, and it sounds cool. It doesn't just sound like ones and zeros because they intentionally color that thing. And it's not terribly expensive, and it's fun to use, I think, too. Something to consider.
I don't know if I've ever heard of that. What is that?
Harrison Mixbus. Harrison is a console manufacturer. They've made analog consoles, and I think they still make consoles, don't they, Eric?
Oh yeah, they're still out there. Absolutely.
Yeah. And basically, it's a DAW that's built around the concept of their 32C, I think. Seems right. But when you open it up, it's like working on a console. The whole thing is built as if you are working on a large frame console.
Really?
Yeah, it's slick. It's cool. There are some things about it that I don't like, but I did a mix on it, and I was like, this sounds good. And once again, had I messed with it longer, I probably would have liked it more. But it's another one to consider.
Wow, there's a lot of stuff out there.
Yeah, there's a ton. So,
Well, that is awesome. That is awesome, guys. I cannot thank you both enough for taking time out of your day to be on the show today. Wow, I've learned so much, and not only that, some cool histories come up that I didn't know. Eric, you're amazing. You've obviously been around the block, and you've done some really awesome stuff. And I really encourage people to go find out about some of these bands that we mentioned. If you're a Nebraskan and you're younger and you don't know about Domestica or the Millions or a lot of these bands that we're talking about, these people set the tone and set the stage for a lot of the rock and roll that's happening right now. I mean, these guys were, I mean, where my father was in 1964, starting one of the very first rock bands throughout the 70s and 80s, these are the kinds of bands that kept it all together and that keeps this amazing magical scene called Nebraska music together, you know. And like you said, there's something in the water, and this is why. Bands like this that keep it all together. So anything else, guys, that you want to shout about?
If you have any questions, I mean, about anything we didn't cover, or some advice, hit us up on Facebook. I mean, love chatting gear. So
Cool.
I love recommending that somebody else spend their money on gear that I'd like to buy.
Right? Yeah, try it out.
Yeah, always happy to help people out. And if anybody has a recording or mixing job that they need done, Eric and I are happy to help them.
Hit them up, guys. They're some of the best around, and they know their stuff. And funny enough, you might get them excited, and they'll send you a mix within a few hours. That's awesome. Well, hey, guys, take care. Happy Friday to you. We will be in touch, no question. And keep rocking, man. Take care of those ears.
Thanks, Mike.
Yeah, you too. Thanks.
All right, see you guys. Take care.
Bye.
So amazing. Eric Medley and Chris Steffen joining the program today. I cannot say how cool that was, man. That was awesome. That was just awesome. And thank you so much to those guys. They're some of the best dudes around, not only at what they do, but they're super nice people. And that goes a long ways in our community, for sure. So tune in next Friday. We're going to keep doing this. I hope you guys like it. Let me know. Give me a shout out and say, hey, keep going. Good show. Love what you're doing. It keeps me going. I'm just doing this for fun and trying to talk to businesses about how they're coping with the current crisis and staying afloat and staying positive and staying real. So much love to everybody out there. Hit me up too, Michael at redrebelmedia.net if you have any questions, or send me a DM on Facebook or there's multiple ways to reach me. So anyhow, hit me up. Love you guys. Peace out.